How many nurses and clinical leaders out there have often wondered whether you can write a book and become a published author? Actually, it's not as difficult as many people think. In fact, I'm a great believer that anyone can write a book. But the key focus is on what you write about and the reason why you want to write that book. My writing career began in 2006 when I decided to enrol in a creative writing course. I remember being asked to write my very first example to demonstrate my ability to write. So I wrote a chapter in a book, and I described a scene on a trauma ward. It was quite graphic and the sort of things that I actually described, and I was really pleased with myself, of course. I then sent it off to my mentor at that time, and I received the feedback from him, and it was awful feedback. In fact, I was absolutely distraught to start off with. I thought, I'm never going to be a writer. This is absolutely awful. Ghastly are the words that I remember him using. And he referred to my chapter as something out of some terrible horror story. So I felt quite discouraged and despondent and somewhat very disappointed with that sort of response. But I decided not to give up, so I carried on. I decided to take a very different route this time. So I focused on one area of my expertise, and that was dementia. So I wrote an article about dementia, and I sent it off to him again. And this time, the feedback was the exact opposite. In fact, it was amazing feedback. He absolutely loved my article, and in fact, he recommended that I actually get the article published, which I did. And I then went on to publish 3 more academic-related articles to healthcare journals. It made me realise that I was actually, not only was I trying to complicate a process, but I was actually trying to do something that I perhaps may not have been that much of an expert at, and that I needed to focus on what I was good at. And what I was good at was to write academically. So I then decided to try writing a book. So in 2014, I wrote my very first academic book, and it was very basic on the different styles of leadership. So it was focused on students and very new nurses, and it really outlined the different types of leadership styles and how to use them in practice. And I remember self-publishing that and on Amazon, and I, received orders and sold a few copies and got really good feedback. So once I gained that confidence, I decided to kind of enhance that a little bit more. So I went a step further and decided to write a dementia book. So I wrote my synopsis and sent it off to a leading publisher in health and social care books. And I remember their response was actually they rejected my book and said it didn't sort of fit in within the context of what they normally would publish. And I did feel very disappointed about that. So I thought, well, I'm not giving up. If you want a job doing, do it yourself. So I went down the route of self-publishing again on Amazon. And again, I sold a few copies and got some really positive sort of feedback. And then I went on to write a second edition and again, self-published that. I did a third edition of the book and enhanced it even more. It was not until someone that I really knew really well, that was already a published author with a mainstream publisher, that I realised I think there may be scope for me here to get my book published. So they read my book and they absolutely loved it. And they then, referred me to the editor that had helped them. So I contacted them directly, gave them my book, and again, absolutely loved my book. And so they made a few suggestions and asked me to provide the full completed book by a certain time, which I did. And I then sold the publishing rights to them. And that's how I became a published author and my journey towards that. And what I will say is that nothing gives me greater achievement than to see my book being used by students in universities, libraries across the world. And whilst for me, I've not gone on to make millions from my academic writing, it's the sense of achievement that I think is absolutely crucial in that I embarked on a journey that I felt I needed to prove myself that I could write and be a published author, and I did. So I always say to people that are considering the route of publishing is that if you truly believe in something, and you have a very good subject in nursing or leadership or anything relating to health and social care, and you believe you can write something about it that can help other people, do it, is my sort of advice to that. And if you think actually it's never going to happen that you will be picked up by a mainstream publisher, that should not stop you from writing, because the self-publishing world is absolutely right there now on the same level as traditional publishing. So there are a lot of successful self-publishers out there, and normally what happens is people tend to then become recognised if their book is either successful or even if it's not successful and selling a few copies on Amazon. It's the subject matter that will appeal to whether someone will actually want to have that book or on their production line, as it were. So I have now gone on to gain more confidence. So I now have 2 further books that I'm considering to publish. One is a safeguarding book, and that's through a mainstream publisher, and the other one is on leadership, and I'm actually self-publishing that. I've also changed direction very, very slightly and gone on to write books for children. So I actually also have written a series of 6 little picture books for children, and they are a combination of fiction and non-fiction, and they focus on helping children to learn about the main food groups that make up healthy eating. So I have again taken a subject that sort of relates to what I do, which is all around health and nutrition. So I've decided to sort of write about raising awareness around, supporting children to learn about the most basics of the 4 main food groups. And again, I've gone down the self-publishing route for that, and my focus is not to, as wonderful as it will be, to earn millions out of that. My passion and my goal is for those books to be sort of used within schools and being readily available to anyone that wants to use them. So I say to anyone that's thinking of being a published author, anyone can write a book now and anyone can publish a book now. It's about how you do it, what you want to write about, and most importantly, it's about you as an individual. What do you want to gain out of that? And for me, I absolutely feel that it was the right decision to make, and it's been a journey. But then everything in life is about a journey, and nothing in life comes simple to people. But it's about not giving up is the key focus. So if you think you want to write a book and you don't know where to go, or you don't know how to start, please do get in touch, and I'll be more than happy to support you should you want to start your journey to being an academic sort of author and writer. and possibly being published, whether it's the self-publishing route or the sort of traditional publisher. Either way, you will be a step further on your journey to being a published author.